way stops. And the London airport, where we're at right now, is closed due to damage, but these folks out here are working really hard and really fast to open it up. Unless absolutely necessary, please stay away from the areas unless you're going to help, unless you have a loved one, because clogging up those roads, getting in especially to these subdivisions, can make it harder for the cleanup crews and for our first responders. Our priority right now is still response and recovery, and then we will move to meet the intermediate needs, including the intermediate housing needs, as we then embark on the rebuilding. I wish we hadn't been through things like this as much as we have, but because we have, I will tell you that the crew that works out of both Frankfort and here are some of the very best. And so those that have been through the worst are going to get everything we've got day in and day out. I live my life, and I can see that those out there helping live their life by that golden rule that we love our neighbor as ourselves. And the parable of the Good Samaritan says everybody's our neighbor. And so we need the whole world right now to be really good neighbors to this region. We're going to need a lot of help. We're going to need a lot of funding. We're going to need a lot of cooperation, but we will not abandon the people that have been impacted. We're going to stand with them. We're going to help lift them up, and we're going to move forward. I'm going to next turn it over to Eric Gibson. He is the Director of Kentucky Emergency Management. Then we'll go to P.J. Burnett, our KSP Commissioner, and then we'll hear from our Senate Leader, Robert Stivers, as well as a number of our other legislators, as well as representatives from our federal offices. Let me say, I'm really glad they're all here. I'm really glad they're all here. It means we are united to help our people. With that, I'll turn it over to Eric Gibson.
Well, thank you all for coming down and visiting this community that's been so impacted by the storm. And we all gather for the same reason, to understand the damage and the experience that these folks have had to go through over the night. And we stand here ready to figure out how we can help them get back to a normal way of life. And at the Emergency Management Branch of your state government, we serve that role in preparing, responding, and helping people recover. And this is the response phase of this disaster, right? We've got first responders in here from all over the state that came in from Louisville, Anchorage, from northern Kentucky. Lexington came down with their urban search and rescue teams. Jessamine County came down and helped. So first responders from all over the state from our urban search and rescue efforts have come in to provide assistance to these collapsed homes, and they put themselves in this situation to try to help these citizens through this. So to them, I want to say thank you specifically, just because, you know, they leave their city, they leave their home, they come down and help wherever I ask them to go, and I can't say how much we appreciate, and it helps our recovery efforts move quickly as we move through these subdivisions where hundreds of homes have been damaged. So thank you to those departments, and for those that have worked throughout the night with the National Guard. They've come in. Our Emergency Operations Center has been going ever since this event began. We started out on Thursday with this event as we started planning and looking at this weather. It continued to be more threatening. And the National Weather Service, I always want to say that I'm very thankful for them. The National Weather Service has been very good about deploying a meteorologist that sits shoulder to shoulder with me throughout the night. And without them, we wouldn't have the early warnings. And as this storm starts moving through our state, I try to go ahead and call. And I know many of these local leaders through our state. Unfortunately, through disaster after disaster, I've got to be on a first-name basis with them. And we get an opportunity, and when I see these storms coming, and your all's meteorologists are often the ones that are telling that local community about it, but we want to make sure that message is getting heard. And I know how much they care about their counties, and as we see these storms starting to impact those areas, you know, reaching out to them, making sure, and that local that National Weather Service meteorologist sitting right beside me, it's very reassuring that he knows what this weather pattern is going to do, and it really helps us to get as much warning out to our citizens as we can. A very tragic event over this event here that's just happened. A loss of life is tremendous, and I'm often asked to compare one disaster to the next. And what I always try to remember is this is that person's worst disaster. It doesn't matter. They're having the hardest day they've ever had. These people that you hear this cleanup going on across the runway, it's their worst disaster. It doesn't matter about all the rest. So we continue to operate the ongoing disaster response for the February storms, Valentine's Day. We have disaster 4860. Those registration centers will remain open in eastern Kentucky in those 13 counties declared for individual assistance until May 24th, which is the Saturday. You can actually register online on May 25th. Then we're opening our new disaster recovery centers for for our April 2nd flooding. If you were watching last week, there were 24 new counties added to that disaster declaration. So those disaster recovery centers are opening across those 24 counties to supplement that first wave that was opened up. So we have that disaster that's going. And the reason I wanted to have an opportunity just to talk about this disaster that's just happened overnight, there is no disaster declaration in place yet. That has to be petitioned, signed by the President, requested by the Governor, signed by the President. And as that comes open, there will be an application period for this particular disaster. But it's so important to know if you go in now and apply for this overnight storm on one of those old disasters, it will automatically create a denial letter. And that we don't want you to have that negative experience in dealing with our processes. And we understand that we want to help you now, but we have to wait till the order is signed. And we have very much had a lot of support from FEMA this year and the President. Those other two disasters are ongoing and operational, but it's very important to understand that the application process for the overnight storm, while it's fresh in our minds, it's not the right time to apply for this disaster. And we'll be continuing to message through all your all's media outlets when that right time is. But what we're trying to talk about is this event. We have the April 2nd event that application period is open for, and we still have a few days left on the previous disaster from back in February. It sounds like we have too many disasters, and I agree with you. It makes many long nights for our staff, for all the local leaders, and all the first responders across the state that have come to the aid of this community this time, Eastern Kentucky back in February, and all across the Commonwealth in the April event. So thank you to all the first responders. There's no way I could thank everyone that I've talked to in the last 24 hours that have come to the aid of our citizens, but they know who they are, and I really appreciate the work that they've done. And I really like to say that the TV stations that are continuing to run this weather when it's this ominous and it just continues to be threatening of our citizens, thank you all for spreading that message. Thank you all very much.
I got the last piece of information I've been waiting for, which is the first release of the demographic information on those we've lost. So I'm going to read through this. In Pulaski, we lost a woman. We do not have her age. And then the other 17 are here in Laurel. A 67-year-old woman, 73-year-old man, 65-year-old woman, 71-year-old man. We've got another man whose age we don't have, 67-year-old woman, 73-year-old woman, 51-year-old woman, 63-year-old man, 74-year-old woman, 68-year-old woman, 69-year-old woman, 76-year-old male, 73-year-old woman, another man that we do not have the age for, a 25-year-old man, and a 48-year-old woman. Commissioner?
Thank you. Here we are in Kentucky tackling another significant natural disaster. But first, I want to thank the troopers, officers, telecommunicators, and other support staff of KSP for their efforts in working through last night. You know, they have worked relentlessly since this occurred, as long as our other partners here in Laurel County. You know, with that, some of them has worked so many hours that we had to come in as leadership and make them go home because they did not want to leave trying to help their citizens in Pulaski and Laurel counties. But with that, there were some things last night that occurred that were just unimaginable to most of us. But our troopers, officers, deputies, last night they were picking up severely injured individuals, carrying them into their cruisers and taking them to the hospital because EMS was overwhelmed with all that. Those are the things that law enforcement do outside of just regular law enforcement functions. But with that, us sending them home, we brought in troopers and officers from across the state, from across our 16 posts, to be able to augment and help here and support our citizens in Laurel and Pulaski counties. But we couldn't do it alone. Working with the Laurel County Sheriff's Office, London Police Department, National Guard, and all the other entities within Laurel County has just been phenomenal. And those partnerships is how we've been able to work through these issues. But now, our primary focus, and I just want to reiterate what Governor Beshear said, looting. We're going to be focusing our efforts together, collaboratively, bringing people in and patrolling these affected neighborhoods. And we are going to vigorously enforce anyone that may be caught looting. Also, things that let you know is that the First Baptist Church has contacted us on 5th Street in London, and they are offering shelter for those that were displaced by the tornadoes. We would also ask that continue, like with 911, only call 911 if you have an emergency. Just don't overwhelm our 911 emergency services. And also, for any timely updates, if you would, look at our KSP web pages, and we'll have timely updates for you on that. Thank you.
Let me introduce myself to some that don't know. I'm Robert Stivers. I'm the Senate President, and my district is not here. And I want to, but it's next door, and reiterate something the governor said. You know, we are all here together and no politics to be played, and I want to thank all the people in the governor's office that have been reacting to this. But I also want to say a couple of other things. You cannot get out and imagine by picture the devastation that has taken place here and the far-reaching impacts. As the commissioner was saying, and Mr. Gibson was saying, a lot of cooperation. My hometown, Manchester, Clay County, just 30 minutes away, they were sending individuals over, and I believe they sent 2 ambulances over last night because just the volume was so great. And when you see this, and the governor was talking about how one house was destroyed and another house wasn't, one of the ladies he mentioned was a former Clay County teacher that had retired and moved here. And literally, I was having lunch, and I think Representative Lewis was too, with her dad just a few weeks ago, because we were honoring him as his retirement after 60 years of practicing law in Manchester. So you see the outreach, a negative outreach that it has well beyond the geographic confines of the 2 counties that this hit. And you want to sit here and think, my gosh, you know, how do you explain this, or how do you describe it to the world? There is no picture that can describe this in either film or photograph. And to sit there and know that this lady that we know from Clay County, and literally at one time lived 3 houses down from me, her house was standing. But they told us the house she passed was something came through the window and hit her, and was so traumatic that she lost her life. That's the devastation of this storm. And so you see the impact of it, but you have to thank every person that has stepped up to come here from wherever they were. The governor and I were actually talking to some people from Knox County and Tennessee that had rolled into this subdivision. And the other thing I want to say about this, yes, I live in Clay County, but for 18 years I lived here in London, only minutes away from where this hit and had the most damage. Lived on the first house as you come across the interstate bridge on 363. So it's particularly touching to me because that's where I rode my bicycles. That's where I know people who I went to school with at Sublimity Elementary that is literally over through these trees. But my parents moved back to Manchester, so it's, even though not my area, even though not something, I'm here today to support people I knew, I grew up with in the community that has been part of this area, and even to show that it reaches well beyond this community and touches people who have come here from Leslie County and Perry County and Clay County and Harlan County. It's a tragic day, but I want to thank all the people who have helped to try to work with the people and move the people to safety, and that are going to be here for weeks and months. And I want to say this, and the governor knows this. We've talked about it. Whatever the needs are from a financial standpoint, the General Assembly, and I've talked to many of my colleagues, actually we were on the text chain this morning with all 31 of the colleagues in my caucus, saying we were ready, willing, and able to do whatever necessary financially from the legislature to aid and assist in the recovery of this region. So to the governor and the group, thank you. But on this day, pray for all the people who have been adversely impacted.
You know, I was sitting at home last night with my kids, my wife. You know, I saw what was going on in Somerset. We went to our basement, and you know, we checked on our neighbors, and we prayed. And the storm went to the south of us, thankfully. And first thing I did this morning, you can see I'm just started going house to house where it was impacted and helping where I could. And so for those watching at home, I encourage you to do that. Once our emergency officials have cleared the area, help your neighbors. And more than anything, pray. And in terms of the General Assembly, as President Stiver said, we'll take care of that. I appreciate the governor's office for coming today. I appreciate all of our firefighters, our police, all of our first responders. Thank you for all you do, and I appreciate the media being here as well. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. I'm Donna Baker McClure. I'm United States Senator Mitch McConnell's Eastern Kentucky field representative. My home was in the path of the tornado, and my daughter and I were in the basement of our home praying as the tornado passed over our home. We lost neighbors, and most of the people in our neighborhood do not have their homes today. But I'm here today to let you know if there's anything that we can do in our capacity. Representative Senator McConnell, we're here to help you.
I'm David Westerfield, the Laurel County Judge Executive. Last night before this storm got here, the wife and I were standing on our front porch. You know, they said it was going to hit us. So, I'm sorry, but we stood on the porch and watched this go to our neighbors. And you see what they're going through today. You know, when we got there about 12:30 last night, I've not left, I've not been home, and I won't go until these people are taken care of. This morning, shortly after daybreak, my cell phone rang. I looked down, it was Andy Beshear. Guys, we got a governor, regardless of the political affiliation, he and I are on different sides, but we still walk the same path. We represent the same people. We want to help the same people, and he does that. And as I passed through for several hours today, there was people from all over Kentucky here helping Laurel Countyans. You know, we were so blessed, but that's what Kentuckians do best. They pull together, they help each other, they give the helping hand. They do what they need to do to help each other. And we do appreciate all the other counties. I counted today, to the best of my knowledge, 15 other counties here with first responders. There was 12 counties here with ambulances last night and today to help transport the victims, to the people that were injured. So we do live in a community, in a state that cares about each other. And thank you, and let's just continue the path we're going as one. Thank you.
Karen Kelly, Chief of Staff to Congressman Hal Rogers. I was watching the storms last night, listening to the Weather Service talk about the ball of debris that was coming, tearing a wide path from Somerset to London, and checked on our team. And when it got to our communication director, Danielle Smoot, she was in a closet, hunkered down with her husband and son, hearing debris hit their windows. Thank God she's okay. But there are many others that are not, that are hurting. They're in our prayers. Congressman Hal Rogers is going to be with these families that need to rebuild every step of the way. Our prayers are certainly with those that have lost loved ones. As Dean of the United States House of Representatives and a senior appropriator, he will certainly do what needs to be done here, and we certainly appreciate the governor. I will say that there's a lot of hurt and a lot of need, but there's a lot of great people in Eastern Kentucky, and that's what makes this special place unique. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brian Mills, and I'm the Regional Field Representative for United States Senator Rand Paul. We've heard a lot of harrowing stories up here today, and they're close to my heart. I've been a resident of Laurel County my entire life. I live in southern Laurel County, and me and my family were in the basement up to about 3 o'clock this morning. We were on the edge of the storms. We were blessed that we weren't affected by this, but as soon as the sun came up this morning, we put on our boots, we headed out the door, and we came out to help the people of Laurel County and our fellow Kentuckians. I have to thank the local officials who've done such a great job, Sheriff John Root, the organization at South Laurel High School. We were there helping distribute aid this morning. I was helping direct people to where they could take it to from there to First Baptist Church in downtown London, and we've had people coming from all over Kentucky and all over the United States of America. And we have to remember that what we're going through here in Kentucky has no politics. Disaster is bipartisan. And the United States Senator Rand Paul and our staff will be there to assist all Kentuckians as we recover from this disaster. And I look forward to working with everyone behind me here and bringing some relief to the citizens of our state. And I just have to say, remain Kentucky strong.
I'm John Root, and I'm the Laurel County Sheriff. I just want to thank city, county, state, and federal people that's out here helping us. You know, I was born and raised here in the county, and got up yesterday, drove home, and last night I was in the hallway. I was scared with my family, and some wasn't so fortunate. And I just wanted to say, as I've heard the governor quote many of the time, Team Kentucky. There's no I in team, and right here in this room is the team. And outside those doors are team members still working. And I thank you, the media, for covering this. And I'll just hit on the looting that's done been hit on, but we're out in full force along with local authorities and state and federal. And I would really, really advise anyone that's watching this or even thinking about looting, don't even think about it. Like the governor stated, they've been through enough. We're here to help, not to hurt. Thank you, guys.
All right, we'll open it up for a couple of questions. Yeah.
First of all, it has to be confirmed it was one tornado that came all the way from Somerset here, and you said it might have been an EM3. Have they categorized that as being bigger? I saw some of the past.
Yeah, so the only information I have right now from the National Weather Service, which was relayed to me secondhand, was that they have scored it a 3 in Somerset. Certainly, from what I've seen and what I saw today, it could easily be a 4 that came through. But at the end of the day, the number isn't going to matter that much to the families that have been through it. But this was a devastatingly strong tornado that tore through a subdivision in the middle of the night, and that is the worst type of natural disaster.
And to follow up on that, you talked about this being the 14th under your tenure. What's going on? And is there a chance that because of all this, you run out of resources to help with all of this? You said earlier this year the flooding was the worst ever in the history of the state, and now you have this.
Were there times I was worried about running out of resources? Yes, but we just had a Senate president step up and commit with all the rest of the legislature to help. Our federal partners have been incredible about getting the administration to sign off on our declarations when some other states haven't seen that. So I think what everyone should hear today is everybody's ready to do everything it takes. We'll work together to determine how to do that and what we need, but this community will see all the resources that we can put together. Sure. Please.
Something unusual for me, I actually had contact with the White House Intergovernmental Relations too, and they said they were ready with $5 million, and the governor's office, I think, has executed the documents to get them there. They said they were ready. Somewhat unusual. They generally haven't ever contacted me in my years past. But the other thing that we've always seen, they're going to do an assessment, and I don't generally guarantee much after 29 years, but one thing I will guarantee you, when the assessment's done, the money will be there. We have that ability, and when the governor's office and Mr. Gibson come to us, we'll be prepared to make sure the necessary dollars, and there is no doubt in my mind, we are not, and I emphasize not, going to run out of money to take care of the problem.
And we've talked to the White House twice today.
So you got a good team back here.
Do we know if any Kentuckians are unaccounted for?
We don't yet have a list of those unaccounted for. We'll get you that number when we have it. I mentioned earlier the place that you can go, the church. Tell me the name of that. Faith Assembly Baptist? Oh, no, Faith Assembly Church. So, again, if you can travel, go there. Talk directly to the state police and I believe the sheriff's office. Otherwise, call that Red Cross number. Now, what's happened, though, is this hit a community. And people typically know their neighbors and are working to make sure they're there. So this is one that, while devastating, is a little more localized, that we can typically get our arms around how many people have been harmed fairly quickly.
Do you have that localization and time of tornado warnings last time?
I don't have any report of local sirens, but we had a National Weather Service report that we were going to see severe weather. I'm not sure the Category 4 part of that map extended all in this direction, but we knew that this was a possibility, but it hit late. Unfortunately, it hit really late at night.
You're talking about how the locals know, and the local London mayor is saying that it's at least 23, and so I'm just wondering where the discrepancy in numbers of deaths.
So the number that I'm providing is the official process. It's got to go through the Department of Public Health. It's the way we do it each and every time. The mayor may be right. He may have information ahead of ours that is already worked through. There's also a process to ensure something is a storm-related death, and so there may be some discrepancies there as well. So I'm not trying to argue with anybody's number. Everybody is trying to account for everybody that's been lost, and we expect our number to potentially rise. Let me get you that information. Yes.
How specifically are all three offices going to work together, and what's your promise to the people of London to get those individualized assistance?
We will first move for the overall federal disaster declaration. Then we've got to put together the application packet that has all the damage information to request both individual assistance, that's what helps the families, and public assistance. It's going to be needed to help the city and the county. We will do that as fast as we can. Certainly this, as opposed to the two other natural disasters we've had, is more localized, and my hope and the pressure I'm going to put on emergency management is to do it as quickly as we can, but we'll be updating every day where that process is. What people should know right now is document, document, document. Document the things you've lost. But also, if you are a homeowner or a renter, go ahead and call your insurance company. So if we do end up getting FEMA individual assistance, it kicks in after insurance. So go ahead and go through that process. And if you have challenges with your insurance company, call our state insurance commissioner, and we'll do everything we can to help out. I will say the insurance industry was really good after the tornadoes in 2021 and some other ones, and we want to see that happen here too. Yes, ma'am. Tough part of this one is I worry there might be a whole block out there where everybody's dead. And I hope that's not the case, but you see 5 houses in a row, they're just gone entirely. No walls, no windows, just a pile that can't be big enough to have been that house. You have a lot of trauma coming out of this one, because how, as a small neighborhood, how do you move on when you've lost 10 people? That's what we faced at Dawson Springs in 21, and the answer is together. Well, the first thing is love on each other, ask for help if you need it, and get help when you need it. This is more trauma, whether it's the individuals who went through it, the first responders who are out helping and sadly pulling bodies from the rubble. That's more trauma than our minds or our bodies are meant to take. And thankfully, there's some amazing healthcare professionals out there that are willing to help. The message to come out of this, and it's not a message that anybody did anything wrong last night. They didn't. But let's be weather aware every day. Let's take everyone seriously. Let's make sure that we have those weather alarms that can wake us up at night, the weather radios. It's just, this seems to be the new normal that Kentucky is facing. And if that's true, I want to make sure we have every tool to protect people every time. While I have big concerns with cuts to the National Weather Service, I don't see any evidence that it impacted this one.
Does it make you worried that it impacts someone else in the future?
Yes. The National Weather Service is just an amazing organization. I work with them every day, every week in this job. They work so hard, And if you look especially at the flooding disasters, on a couple of them, they gave us a week's worth of notice, because that's when we were able to put together that forecast. And because of that, we were able to pre-position the assets, the rescue teams, and rescue a whole lot of people really quickly. But let me just be really clear on this. The White House, Secretary Noem, and FEMA have responded incredibly well each time we've had a natural disaster in Kentucky. I have no criticisms of their operations on the ground, and that's coming from a guy who's had disagreements with this president, but they've done a good job when FEMA has come into Kentucky, and I'm grateful.
I want to add, the Weather Service is funded under the Commerce Justice Science Committee. Congressman Hal Rogers is the chair of that subcommittee. Just keep in mind that the president requests a budget and Congress appropriates.
You've touched on many resources people can tap into. For those people that have nowhere to go tonight and had their entire home destroyed, is there any place that you guys have said that people can go to? Check on that.
We've got First Baptist Church, which is open. I believe that we have some other shelters that have been put out. Sheriff, do you?
Yes, you can also go to the Sheriff's Office Facebook page, and there's a number there. If the family's been infected by the storm, there's a number they can call, and it will cost them zero, nothing.
Yeah. Let me just add, we're also working very quickly with a couple of partners that have helped us in other natural disasters. We are hoping to have some additional information, especially about where to go in the weeks ahead. Eric Gibson and I have also already been talking about an intermediate housing program like we needed after 21 and 22. We're going to have a couple of different options, probably both on private land and on public land. So we're talking through a travel trailer type of program that's going to be necessary. And if we can keep folks that live close to each other, living close to each other, hopefully close to where they're rebuilding, we understand that this is going to be a several-year process. The Sheriff?
Just stick together. Let's be a community. Let's be residents. Let's be neighbors, team, and don't be afraid to reach out. And like I say, I was born and raised here, and this is my family. And anything they need, we're going to provide. Just stay strong, and that's why all these different agencies that's represented here today are out working, trying to comfort them, whether it's food, shelter, whatever they may need, we're here for them.
Sheriff, there's a lot of people that are going to see these stories. What's the best way for folks that aren't here to help?
Well, you know, the governor has really provided really well for us, FEMA. But, you know, as far as the donations, maybe the residents here, if anybody sees this, you know, a big thing we need is tarps. A lot of these homes need to be secured. We don't know what may be coming, you know, tomorrow or the next day or whatever. Gloves, just the basics. I would say, you know, if anybody wants to help, anything would be greatly appreciated.
Can I add one thing?
Yes, sir.
This morning from the volunteer efforts, tote boxes. People need tote boxes.
Tote boxes.
Absolutely. They're out.
Yeah. We also have the Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund open. Remember, we had specific funds for a while. Now we have one that continues. We have, I think, the funds in there from previous donations to cover the funerals that are going to be coming up. They're hard, and those families shouldn't have to bear that cost during their grief. But we're going to need more money for the rebuilding. And so that's one that will be helping all three of these last natural disasters. The Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund, subject to open records, fully transparent. Every dollar goes to help people who've been hurt. Let's take one more.
Governor, moving forward, how helpful will it be that FEMA is already on the ground in some aspects?
Oh, having FEMA on the ground already is very helpful. Having Jeremy Slinker as the FEMA regional head on the ground, who used to be our head of emergency management, is even more helpful. This FEMA group has been really good, very knowledgeable. They have gotten things up and running once we've gotten the individual assistance as fast as I've ever seen. The numbers coming out of it, of people approved, are really, really positive. So the FEMA operation that's been in Kentucky has been working well. I'm grateful for it. I hope we can get it up and running here as quickly as possible. Thank you all very much.
legislature, yes. Yeah, the 5 in the House.
Thank you.
We're ready to donate. I'll my sheriff's office all day. Glad you came down.
Good to see you. Appreciate you.
So they did. Oh, you were absolutely. So we were trying to make sure. But I enjoy working with Colter.
Good, good. Okay.
This one, we're longtime friends. Longtime friends. Appreciate it.